Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again, digging into some really fascinating sources to try and, well, uncover some hidden truths, maybe offer you a fresh way of looking at things.
That's the goal.
And today, we're tackling a huge one, a question that I think weighs on pretty much everyone at some point. It's that raw, painful question. Why do bad things happen to good people?
It's a classic, isn't it? Born out of real confusion, real pain.
Exactly. You see suffering, injustice, and you just think, why? It can leave you feeling lost, maybe even a bit angry at how chaotic the world seems sometimes.
Absolutely understandable. But what's really fascinating when you look at the sources we're exploring today is maybe flipping that question.
Flipping it, how so?
Well, connecting it to the bigger picture, the sources suggest maybe the better question isn't why do bad things happen to good people, but why do good things happen at all?
Wow, okay. Say more about that.
Especially when you consider how the Bible describes the world,
Yeah.
you know, like in Ephesians, it talks about the influence of the prince and power of the air. And Jesus himself in Luke refers to this present age having a sort of temporary limited hour where darkness or Satan has permission to operate.
So if that's the baseline, goodness is the surprise.
Precisely. It flips the whole frame of reference. It changes what we expect, how we even see our day-to-day lives.
Okay, let's really try and unpack this.
Yeah.
I want you, listening right now, to just pause and imagine for a second, not just think about it, but really visualize it. What if you could actually see everything God protects you from every single day? I don't just mean the big dramatic stuff.
Right, the near-miss car accident.
Yeah, but the small things too, the visible forces, the dangers just averted, the spiritual battles being fought that you have no idea about.
Right.
What would seeing that change for you?
How would it change your perspective on, say, a traffic jam?
Exactly, or minor frustration, or even something you just call good luck. So that's our goal today in this deep dive. We're pulling back the curtain, using these rich biblical insights, these spiritual truths from our sources.
Yeah, the aim is to maybe offer a new lens.
A new lens to view daily life, hopefully fostering, I don't know, a deep sense of gratitude, maybe a renewed sense of purpose that goes beyond just what we see. So let's start right there on this invisible battlefield. The first kind of foundational idea we need to get our heads around is that what we see, our physical world, it's not the whole story.
Not by a long shot. That's absolutely central to the sources. Our physical reality, the world we touch and measure, it's just, let's say, one layer.
One dimension of.
More.
Exactly. There's a much larger multi-dimensional spiritual reality all around us. Spiritual forces, both good and, well, not so good, are constantly active, often completely beyond our normal senses.
And the Bible is pretty explicit about this world being influenced.
Heavily influenced, yes. Though it's crucial to remember it's a limited influence. Satan is called the prince of this world, the prince of the power of the air. This isn't just like old-fashioned language.
It describes a real dynamic. It describes a real sphere of influence, an adversary who's actively working, subtly, to shape thoughts, culture, stir up trouble, affect our emotions even. Think of it like a current pulling towards cynicism, despair, division.
So we're not just fighting bad luck or difficult people sometimes.
Often, no. We're contending with the spiritual influence behind those things. But again, key point. It's temporary. It's permitted, always within boundaries God sets. It's not unlimited power.
That distinction is huge because a purely materialistic view says it's all random or just human action.
Right. No spiritual dimension at all.
But if you acknowledge this unseen conflict, this spiritual dynamic, it changes how you see almost everything, doesn't it?
Fundamentally, those random bad events, those personal struggles that feel just overwhelming, even big global issues, they take on a different light.
It's not just good luck versus bad luck anymore.
No, you start looking for the spiritual currents underneath. It pushes you beyond just the immediate visible cause.
And think about how that might change our reactions. If we really truly believe this, how would it affect our day-to-day anxieties, our fears?
You might react very differently to challenges if you knew the scale of divine help potentially available or the true source of the opposition you're facing. It reframes the experience.
Which leads perfectly to the next question. If there's this prince of the power of the air, what about the other side? What about the forces of light?
Exactly. Where's the divine counteroffensive in all this?
And that brings us to one of the most, I think, visually stunning stories in the Bible about exactly this divine protection, the story of Elisha and his servant.
Oh, it's such a powerful illustration. 2 Kings chapter 6, you have to picture it. The servant wakes up one morning, looks out, and his blood just runs cold.
What does he see?
Their city, Dothan, is completely surrounded. A huge enemy army, the Syrians, horses, chariots everywhere. Total blockade, ready to attack.
Pure terror.
Absolutely. He cries out to Elisha, his master, something like, "Oh no, what are we going to do?" You can just feel the panic. It looks like certain death. No escape.
But Elisha?
Elisha is completely calm. Amidst this terrifyingly visible threat, he just says, "Don't be afraid."
Easy for him to say.
Right. And then he says this incredible thing. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them.
Can you imagine being the servant thinking, what is he talking about? Is he blind?
Exactly. His eyes see doom. Elisha sees something else. And then Elisha prays. Such a simple, direct prayer. "Lord, please open his eyes so he can see." And the Bible says the Lord opened the servant's eyes. And suddenly he sees more than just the Syrian army. The mountainside around Elisha is filled, absolutely filled with horses and chariots of fire. An entire invisible divine army.
Wow. Just wow. That's the definition of an aha moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Literal spiritual sight, just washing away fear, replacing it with confidence, peace.
Total transformation. From abject terror to overwhelming security. And it shows us so clearly what we see with our physical eyes. It's rarely the whole story.
Divine protection is often there, completely invisible to us.
What looked like certain defeat was actually a situation of overwhelming divine backup. And this isn't just a one-off story. It's a model for us. We can ask God to open our spiritual eyes in our own overwhelming moments.
And it connects to other scriptures too, right?
Yeah.
Like Hebrews talking about angels being ministering spirits.
Exactly. Hebrews 1.14, sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. And Psalm 34.7, the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. It's active. It's present.
God is constantly shielding us, diverting dangers we don't even know exist, averting accidents, guiding us away from harm.
Preventing bad things from happening that we never even get a hint of, all happening behind the scenes.
Imagine if we saw that daily, those chariots of fire, those angels, every time danger was near or averted. How would that change our reliance on ourselves, our own strength, our plans?
We'd probably rely a lot less on our own perceived control, wouldn't we? Maybe we'd be less stressed, definitely more humbled, more awestruck.
It makes you wonder about all those lucky breaks or close calls. Maybe not so lucky after all.
Maybe explicit acts of divine intervention. And understanding this invisible protection really forces us to think about the nature of the battle itself.
Yes, because if the protection is unseen, the conflict often is too. Our struggles are fundamentally spiritual.
That's what Paul drives home. In 2 Corinthians 10, he says, our weapons aren't worldly, not carnal, but they have divine power. Power to demolish strongholds.
Walkholes. What does that mean practically?
He goes on, casting down imaginations or arguments, and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and taking thoughts captive. It's a battle for the mind, for truth.
And then in Ephesians 6, he's even more direct.
Crystal clear. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood,
Not against people.
but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. It's not just a metaphor.
So a real fight isn't just with difficult bosses or frustrating situations or even illnesses.
Those might be the battlegrounds, but the real opponents, the source of much of the opposition, are these unseen spiritual powers that inflict damage, spiritual, psychological, sometimes even physical.
So when Paul talks about strongholds today, what might those look like?
Think of them as entrenched areas in our lives where the enemy has gained ground. They're not always dramatic, like demonic possession in the movies.
More subtle.
Often, yeah. Deeply ingrained patterns of fear that stop us from moving forward. Chronic self-blame or shame that keeps us feeling worthless. Generational issues, destructive patterns that repeat in families.
Resentment.
Bitterness.
Absolutely. Lies we've believed for so long they feel like truth. These things become fortified positions in our minds or hearts, resisting God's truth and freedom.
So a lie, if you really buy into it, can become a spiritual stronghold, affecting your mental health, your emotions.
Definitely. It can lead to anxiety, depression, even physical problems stemming from that spiritual root. Recognizing this changes where we aim our efforts, right? We need spiritual weapons for spiritual battles.
Which brings us back to that earlier question. If the world has this level of spiritual opposition, how should we view the good things, the moments of peace, of beauty.
Exactly. That leads us perfectly into this idea of reframing, moving from that very human, understandable question, why bad things, to this inverse question.
Yeah, inverse question. Let's dive into that. It feels like a real perspective shift.
It really is. Instead of defaulting to why do bad things happen to good people, the sources push us towards why do good things happen to sinful people, or even just why does anything good happen at all?
Especially given what we just discussed, the world being under this temporary hostile influence.
Precisely. If we accept the biblical premise that this age has this allowed hour for evil, as Jesus said, then hardship and struggle, well, they become less surprising, unfortunately.
They fit the described reality.
Yes. So what becomes truly astonishing from that viewpoint is goodness. The persistence of beauty, joy, kindness, love. That's the miracle in a fallen world.
Wow, okay. That perspective, it changes everything. Because suddenly every good moment, every bit of peace, every answered prayer, every time we weren't harmed,
It's not as a random chance. It's not something we're automatically owed.
it becomes a gift, a direct sign of God's mercy, his sustaining power.
An explicit testimony to his grace. Something given, not earned. Remember Matthew 5.45? He makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust.
God's generosity, his patience, even when the world is largely ignoring him or hostile to him.
Exactly. And seeing it that way, it just cultivates this deep, almost overwhelming gratitude.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It ties into that idea of common grace, right? The blessings God gives to everyone, believers or not.
Absolutely. Think about the simple things we often take for granted. The beauty of nature, a good meal, laughter, breathing easily, human connection.
Things available to pretty much everyone.
Yes. And from this perspective, they aren't just nature or biology or luck. They are active, ongoing evidence of God holding back the tide of chaos, preserving goodness in a world that would otherwise self-destruct.
It's like recalibrating your spiritual radar to see God's hand everywhere, even in the mundane.
And it's not just about feeling warm and fuzzy. It's about recognizing reality.
And how does that shift us away from maybe a sense of entitlement? If every good thing is a gift.
We become more humble, right? Less likely to feel outraged when hardship comes because our baseline expectation shifts. We start marveling at the grace we do receive instead of only focusing on what goes wrong.
Complaints might actually turn into praise more often.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Which leads directly to this idea of actively cultivating Thanksgiving, especially for the unseen protection we talked about.
If we could actually see it all.
Just for one day. See the accidents that didn't happen, the malicious plans that failed, the spiritual attacks deflected, the subtle guidance that kept us safe.
Our lives would just overflow with thankfulness.
Completely. Our whole emotional and spiritual state would change. We'd move beyond just lamenting the difficulties and be constantly amazed, truly grateful for the good God allows, the peace he provides.
Seeing the temptations avoided, the traps sidestepped.
It wouldn't just be theory anymore. It would be visceral.
It puts verses like Psalm 103.2, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, into a whole new light.
And Paul's command in 1 Thessalonians 5, rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. It suddenly seems less like a burden and more like the only rational response.
Yeah, if you saw what God was doing constantly, thankfulness wouldn't be optional. It would just pour out. Maybe it is good we don't see it all. We get nothing done.
Huh. Maybe. But seriously, this perspective shift, this gratitude, it also changes how we see other people, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if we're all recipients of this immense, often unseen mercy and protection, what about the people around us? They're in the same boat, but they're also carrying things we can't see.
That's a really important connection. Extending this idea of unseen realities to the people we interact with. Yeah, that changes things dramatically. Let's talk about these unseen burdens people carry.
Okay, this is where, for me, it gets incredibly compelling. Imagine, again, like Elisha's servant, having your eyes opened. But this time, to see people spiritually.
Not just their physical appearance.
No.
Yeah.
You see past the smile, the clothes, the job title. You see the invisible things clinging to them. The sources talk about things like anchors of fear, chains of shame, burdens of guilt, depression, trauma, deception.
These aren't just metaphors, they're like spiritual weights.
That's how they're described. Real spiritual realities that weigh people down, deeply affecting them.
And these unseen things, they have visible consequences, right? They slow people down.
Yeah. Mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, absolutely. And physically, too. Stress-related illnesses, chronic depression, addictions, isolation, destructive habits. So often, the root is spiritual, even if the symptoms are physical or psychological.
Like that proverb, heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop. It literally weighs you down.
Exactly. So imagine you could see that spiritual backpack full of rocks that someone is carrying. How would that change how you react to them? To their struggles, their pace, even their occasional grumpiness?
My empathy would skyrocket. My judgment would plummet.
Instantly. You'd be so much quicker to show patience, compassion, grace. You'd realize that maybe that hurtful comment or that frustrating behavior isn't really about you.
It's coming from their own unseen pain, their own torment.
Often, yes. Rather than intentional malice, it's a symptom of the burden they're carrying. Like that person struggling up the hill with the invisible heavy backpack. You wouldn't call them lazy if you saw the weight.
You'd want to help them carry it.
Exactly. Your criticism would turn into compassion, your judgment into a desire to intercede, to help lift that load somehow.
Which leads to this fascinating, almost sci-fi sounding metaphor you introduced.
Yeah.
Prayer as a quantum entanglement weightlifter. Unpack that for us.
Okay, deep breath. First, disclaimer. We are not saying prayer is literally quantum physics.
Got it. It's an analogy.
It's an analogy to help us grasp something profound. Quantum entanglement describes how tiny particles can become linked, influencing each other instantly no matter how far apart they are. It's like a connection beyond space.
Okay.
So the parallel is this. Prayer isn't just words floating into the air. It's a spiritual act, a divine intervention. When we pray for someone, especially with faith, it's like our prayer becomes spiritually entangled with their situation, with their burdens.
A spiritual connection is made.
Yes. God uses our prayers, our faith-filled intercession, as a means, a channel, to interact with those unseen spiritual weights on another person, regardless of distance. It's a mystery, but it suggests our prayers have real agency, real power in the spiritual realm.
They actually do something unseen.
Absolutely. Remember 2 Corinthians 10, our weapons have divine power to demolish strongholds. And James 5.16, quote, "The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much." That means heartfelt, persistent prayer is incredibly powerful. It can literally help lift those spiritual burdens.
So if we could see that, if we saw our prayers like, I don't know, luminous threads connecting to someone's burden and actually helping to lift it,
How much more would we pray? How much more fervently, consistently, compassionately?
it wouldn't feel like just a duty or sending good thoughts.
It would feel like actively participating in a divine rescue operation, like being a spiritual weightlifter for people we care about, intervening in the unseen realm on their behalf.
That understanding, seeing the burdens and believing in the power of prayer, it must change how we treat people day to day.
It has to. If we really grasp this, seeing the invisible chains, the weights, the spiritual struggles, patience and compassion become almost instinctive. We understand that harsh words or difficult behavior might just be symptoms.
And the Bible calls us to this explicitly. Colossians 3 tells us to clothe ourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience. Ephesians 4, be kind, tenderhearted, forgiving.
And Galatians 6.2, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. It's not just a nice idea, it's a command rooted in this spiritual reality.
It makes us want to be merciful intercessors, not harsh judges, prayer warriors, not critics.
Exactly. It shifts our whole posture from condemnation to compassionate action, fueled by prayer, believing it makes a real unseen difference.
Okay, so it's clear from all this. So much is happening that we just don't see. Which brings us to something absolutely crucial for navigating this, faith. And part of that is accepting that God doesn't always show us everything.
That's right. There are things God, in his wisdom, chooses to withhold. He essentially tells us, sometimes you're not ready for that yet, or that's not for you to know right now, and our job is to trust him anyway.
Trust that he's in control even when the picture is fuzzy or incomplete.
Precisely. Jesus modeled this with his disciples. Remember in Acts 1, right before he ascended, they asked him, Lord, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom to Israel?
A very practical political question.
Yes. And Jesus answered, it is not for you to know the times or dates the Father has set by his own authority. He gently shut down their need for a detailed timeline.
And he said something similar in John's gospel too, didn't he? About having more to tell them.
Yes, John 16. He says, I have much more to say to you, more than you can now bear. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all the truth. He will tell you what is yet to come.
So there's a wisdom in God holding things back. Maybe seeing everything would just break us, overwhelm us.
Could be. Or maybe it would remove the need for trust. If we saw every single detail, every spiritual battle, every angelic move, where would faith come in? Maybe it would distract us from what we are supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah, maybe seeing too much too soon would actually hinder our growth, not help it.
The sources suggest spiritual maturity is gradual. It unfolds as the Holy Spirit guides us. We learn to handle more truth, more reality over time.
It makes you wonder about the what-ifs. If we did see it all, would we be paralyzed by fear? Or would faith just become redundant?
It seems the element of mystery, of not having all the answers, is actually vital for our development. It forces us to rely on God, not on our own limited sight or understanding. It's a kind of trust exercise.
Which makes faith not just important, but absolutely essential, right?
Yeah.
It's the bridge to navigating this world where so much is hidden.
It's the bridge. Hebrews 11:6 is so clear. And without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him.
And Jesus' words to Thomas, who needed to see the wounds.
Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. There's a blessing in trusting beyond our senses.
So it isn't just agreeing with a list of doctrines.
Not at all. It's active trust. Trusting God exists, he's good, he's protecting us, he has a purpose. Even when the plan isn't clear, even when we can't see the whole map.
It's choosing to walk by faith, not by sight, like 2 Corinthians 5 says. Making that choice every day, maybe every moment sometime.
Exactly. Think of that image from Psalm 119. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path.
A lamp.
Yeah.
It doesn't light up the whole forest, does it?
No, just the next few steps. Enough to keep moving forward in trust. And learning to trust God in the midst of these unseen struggles, it builds resilience. It turns uncertainty into an opportunity to lean on him more, to grow deeper.
And this faith, this trust in the unseen, it points us towards an ultimate reality, doesn't it? Something beyond all the current struggles.
Yes, absolutely. This is the anchor. Amidst all the talk of unseen battles and burdens, the deep dive constantly points toward this incredible, glorious future that puts everything into perspective.
The future where all this struggle is.
Completely. All the earthly strife, the spiritual warfare, the burdens, the suffering, it's all temporary, finite. It all leads to an eternal future with God that is so magnificent, so glorious, it makes our current troubles seem small.
Paul talks about this in Romans 8, right? That famous verse.
Romans 8:18 is such a bedrock of hope. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us.
Not worth comparing. That's a staggering statement when you think about some of the suffering people endure.
It truly is. It offers profound perspective, profound comfort. Whatever we face now, however heavy the burden, however fierce the unseen battle, it literally pales in comparison to the glory waiting for us.
Understanding that gives strength, doesn't it? Strength to keep going when things feel impossible.
Imagine that moment of revelation, when everything hidden is made known, every struggle finally understood in light of eternity, every unseen act of protection revealed, every why answered.
All the puzzle pieces falling into place. It will be ultimate clarity, ultimate understanding.
And ultimate joy, because that clarity comes with the fulfillment of God's ultimate promise. A new reality altogether.
New heaven and new earth.
Exactly. Free from sin, from suffering, from the adversary's influence. Revelation 21 gives us a glimpse. God making everything new, wiping away every tear. No more death, mourning, crying, or pain.
The old order of things passed away.
Completely. The spiritual battles will be over. The prince of the power of the air defeated. God's people will finally see and understand the full scope of his love, his care, his deliverance.
We'll see how we worked everything together.
Christ's kingdom fully revealed. Our present struggles will seem like, as Paul says elsewhere, light and momentary troubles, achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. It's a future of peace, joy, unbroken fellowship with God. Every question answered, every mystery solved, hashtag tag outro.
So after all that, what's the takeaway for us right now? This deep dive has really been a journey, hasn't it? From questioning suffering to hopefully marveling at God's grace. We've tried to imagine seeing God's unseen protection, considered the invisible burdens people carry, explored how prayer might act like this quantum weightlifter.
Yeah, in the spiritual sense.
Right. And we've touched on why faith is so crucial when so much remains hidden, remembering God knows what we can bear. It's all meant to shift our perspective, really.
Towards gratitude, towards purpose.
Exactly. Towards immense gratitude for the good we do experience and a renewed sense of purpose grounded in these unseen realities.
And reflecting on all this, I think until that day comes, that glorious day when all battles are done and the kingdom is fully here, our path is clear, isn't it?
Walk by faith, not by sight.
That's it. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Let that faith be active, alive. Let it produce real gratitude for the daily mercies, the seen and the unseen. Let it make us amazed, truly amazed, by the goodness that persists in a fallen world, not just focused on the struggles.
Looking beyond the visible, leaning into the spiritual reality.
That's the call.
So here's a final thought to take with you.
Yeah.
Just imagine what would actually happen if you lived differently because of this. If you lived each moment truly aware of God's unseen protection and truly sensitive to the unseen burdens others are carrying.
How would your life change?
Yeah. How would your life change? What one small, maybe unseen act of kindness or one specific prayer can you commit to this week? Trusting it has a real, unseen, maybe even quantum-like impact.
Believing that whatever you're facing right now,
It really is not worthy to be compared with the glory that will be revealed in us. Something powerful to hold on to. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We hope this gives you plenty to think about.